there are so many people who have similar stories to me who don't have this similar version of the outcome after, being incarcerated because it's really rough. And I had to work and meet people along the way who helped me. So, I'm grateful to be able to be that to others as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's time to ride with Electric Pete, where the wheels are clean, the vibes are high, and the future's fully charged. What if I told you that the most powerful forces changing Philadelphia isn't a new skyscraper or a new sports stadium, but a paintbrush? Today, I'm joined by Darnell Schoolfield, Senior Marketing Manager for Mural Arts Philadelphia. This conversation has actually been 4 years in the making. Darnell and I first met during one of my Uber rides, and ever since, I've wanted to share both his story and the incredible work being done by Mural Arts. Whether you live in Philadelphia or somewhere else in the world, I think you'll come away with a new appreciation for how public arts can transform neighborhoods and lives. All right, thank you so much for coming on, Darnell, man. It's
Of
been four
course.
years in the making, huh?
Yo, yeah, yeah. I just seen our original email, man. I'm like, yo, your persistence and your determination to do, and just like your proactiveness and like your personality is amazing. So I'm happy to
Well,
do it.
thank you.
I'm glad we
Thank
could
you.
finally do this.
Well, this is awesome. This is really fantastic, really great, and thank you again. Um, and who would have thought when I met you 4 years ago, I gave you a ride twice in 1 week. But back
Yeah,
then,
it's meant to be.
huh?
I was just
Yeah,
saying it's meant to be.
yeah, exactly. Back then, I was um, working with a advertising tablet idea in my car, if you recall.
Mhm.
Um,
I remember.
and yeah, so 2, 3 years after that, I started to develop a podcast that's called the Electric Peak Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. And you know, I, and I had never forgot our meeting and Mural Arts
Yeah.
Philadelphia. And gee, I get reminders every day that I'm in Philadelphia. Um, uh, when hold on, yeah, when I see all the murals, and I'm like, I gotta get in touch with Darnell, man. And then I
Yeah,
ran into
man.
your
Yeah.
friend. So that was cool.
Yeah, shout out to
Um,
Ginger. Yeah,
yeah,
shout out to Ginger. Yeah, that was great. I mean, when we first met, that first time 4 years ago, I was literally it was like a year into my role as a social media marketing manager at Mural Arts. So, and I remember it was so much going on my first year. It was like the team is much smaller than it is today. And
uh-huh.
I was r running around doing so many events within that one year by myself. And as the social
Uh,
media marketing manager, as you know, like content is everything. So I'm the one that's recording it, editing it, writing the captions, scheduling it back to
I
back to back
understand.
every single day. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I went from weekly, producing new podcast episodes weekly to first and third Sunday of the month because as
Hmm.
one individual, I just could not handle all that. So
Yeah, it's
anyway,
real.
but yeah, you know what? So yeah, let's get into it. First question, what for people who don't know, what is Mural Arts Philadelphia or Mural Arts?
Um, the tagline, I'll say the tagline, then I'll explain a little bit further. So, of course, like it's the nation's largest public art program, right? Where
Okay.
we have produced over 4,400 murals, right? That's where we're at as far as the number. Who knows if we're almost at 405,000 just yet, but it definitely increases almost daily, definitely yearly. We have between 50 and 75 public programs every year, which that number is a bit skewed as well because 50 to 75 might mean under one public program We could have a
Oh,
workshop. We could have a paint day for a mural. We could have uh, a conversation with the artist at a different space in Philadelphia. So, just overall, arts program where it's the nonprofit in Philadelphia where it has developed all these murals for the past since the 19, let's say 90s at this point. It started off as in the 80s as the Anti-Graffiti Network with Jane
okay.
Golden working with youth who would, get in a bit of trouble uh, doing graffiti around the city. And it was a diversionary program that, took those youth and literally Jane's role within that was to like start making murals with the kids who were already talented in what they did. And once that dissolved, Jane was like, we got to keep this going because she's seen the power of art and how it really affected not only their lives, but the lives of like the communities these murals were going up in because it's really
Right,
participatory. So people
right.
get to like have a say in what goes on the walls of their neighborhoods that can almost live forever, And so that's where Mural Arts began. And in 2026, we're doing that times 1,000 at this point. And yeah, man, and it's definitely one of those art programs where it's not just murals, um, because it has expanded to working with folks who deal with housing insecurity. We've expanded
Okay,
working with folks who are incarcerated for the past 20 years and inside right now who get to work on murals and folks who actually come home who get to work on not just murals, but like get job training, get like therapeutic workshops and all those things
okay.
that help you like reintegrate into society. So like it's expanded so much beyond murals. But of course the foundational aspect of it is are the murals that we see in the city every day.
hmm So that's great. Now, so it started as an anti-graffiti network. That's a concept. I mean, there's graffiti all
Yeah.
over, and the graffiti artists are actually artists, right? So
Yes.
tell,
Yes.
yeah, how did you contact and get in touch with those individuals and bring them over to painting for mural arts?
Yeah, so J when Jane was working at the Anti-Graffiti Network, I think she was there for maybe 10 years or so. Uh, she built relationships with the kids, right? So like it was never like it wasn't just a one-off. It was always like these kids used to drive around with Jane and like really beautify neighborhoods, right? So
Hmm.
after that broke off, she stayed in contact with folks. And if she couldn't get in contact with one artist because maybe communication ended, their friends, she would make sure to put the word out like, listen, we still want to work because I have this program right now to where like, it's not about anti-graffiti anymore. Now we're really like beautifying neighborhoods and bringing together community to like show that we are artists, we are all artists, right? And even this concept of public art at that time, people who didn't understand exactly what was going on and why these kids who were graffitiing illegally got the chance to do these things in a legal public way. And we used to say like it's not public art. People used to say that, but Jane's whole thing, she said there's so much. She says, well, we're doing art in public, so it is, So it just
Yeah.
was like the relationships that she
Well,
formed and she built over the years.
excellent, excellent. Well, kind of like it was her determined follow-up that kept this going and kept guiding, people in a positive direction, right?
Yep.
Yeah, excellent. So now what is the mission statement of Mural Arts?
We'll talk about the mission because I think it's important, right? So it says through participatory public art, Mural Arts Philadelphia inspires change in people, places, and practices, creating opportunity for a more just and equitable Philadelphia. We envision a world where all people have a say in the future of their lives and communities, where art and creative practice are respected as critical to sense of self and place, and where cultural vibrancy reflects and honors all human identities and experiences. And honestly, me reading that, it literally that's the work we do.
Uh,
That is the foundation of the work we do because the things that we're creating is together. Like I said, like we're going into communities, and before a mural goes up, you talk to community members. What would you like to see? Right? The community has a say in the entire process. Who would you like to paint this? We do public art opportunities for folks that where we solicit the other Philadelphia artists to come in, and the
Hmm.
community gets to decide who they want to paint this mural, right? What they want it to be. They get to again paint it in participation with the artist. They get to hold workshops, right? It's a lot behind murals. Like murals can take years to develop because there is such a participatory aspect to it, to where it
Right.
develops. And yeah, we do that to like so people can see themselves in the things that they had a hand in creating, so it can last forever, right? And even though we do deal with at this point, you know, some buildings change ownership to where murals might get covered. Um, where you know gentrification is going on in Philadelphia, has been going on for the past couple of years, and sometimes
Right.
buildings get developed in front of murals that it might have been on a corner, and now another building goes there and covers it. And there's things happening right now to like hopefully work in the future to where city council actually passed a resolution to where in the future folks will have to like make a plan to like either like, you know, redo the mural or like let us know way further in advance than us finding out on maybe social media like we found out in the past, or just in spaces and places where it's just not a communication chain going on. So yeah, I think the mission statement definitely embodies everything that the work I do and the work we all do at Mural Arts.
Uh, so, I mean, well, that's interesting because, all right. Hmm. Now, so how do you find in the networking that you do between artists, right? I mean, that's how you find artists. And I mean, now I guess it's a little easier because you've had many years behind that.
Yeah.
And you're able to kind of touch base through social media or
Hmm.
even at the. All right. So, can you explain to me how? I mean, it sounds like sometimes this takes a lot of years, a long time to get something
Yeah.
approved, get it, and to decide on the right mural. Okay, but
Hmm.
explain to me a little bit about that process.
Yeah. So like you said, like with the artists, like when it comes to like soliciting to artists, right? Requests for proposals. We put it out to the public, right? So like now with the internet, we definitely have social media to where folks are on social media and artists are that are following us or in our network are they're looking for work, right? People want to work, right? And this is their full-time job. So like artists are definitely hopping on those when they see it on social media, when they see it on our website. We have an artist newsletter to where we work with so many artists through all of these years that we have their contact information and it's going out to those folks. Um, Also, because I work in social media, we definitely have like a limit to the people we could reach. But understanding that we utilize advertisement on Facebook, right? Advertisement on Meta, on Instagram, to where we can reach even more people who may not follow us, even more artists who may not follow us to give them access to these opportunities. So I think that happens when that happens and folks start to like put in their applications, their portfolio, and things of that nature. Uh, and sometimes that might not even happen, right? Sometimes it might be a project where the community already has an artist within their community that they want to work with solely. And once that
Uh-huh.
happens, then you have the artist who the community already spoke about the things that they would like to see, right? And the artist works alongside the community to start to develop that design, right? And then you have this thing where it's called design review. And that design review could take months, right? It just all depends on like where the community, where Mural Arts and where the artists continue to share that vision to get it to the finish line of the design being officially approved. So that can take a while. Um, but once that happens, right, and that again, this whole process right there alone could be like a year. It could be.
Uh-huh.
Once that happens, that's when we have paint days. We plan for paint days, whether it be outside, whether it be in a public space like the Free
Uh-huh.
Library or Da Vinci Art Alliance or a place like Flesher Art Memorial, which we were just at for a paint day for a project that's going up in August. Yeah, we invite the community to come back and paint these murals alongside us, and then shortly thereafter, that's when installation happens, right? So the install of a mural, and I say this because maybe folks might not know this, but a lot of murals don't get painted directly on the wall. So
Right.
when I'm saying like paint days,
That was one thing I was
it's the
wondering about.
yeah, every mural doesn't get painted directly on the wall. So they have this method called the parachute cloth method. So where the we work with a printer and he prints out big blocks of like this cloth where the
Right.
design is already like printed on the cloth. And so to have these paint days and make it easy for folks, they're numbered. Like so the artist knows exactly which number and which color goes on that number. So that's why anybody can come in and paint and help paint that mural. Um, but overall, the artist still goes after folks come in and join that community paint day on that parachute cloth. The artist will go in and touch it up and just finalize it. And because they are, experienced, they do that part, and then that installation happens to where it can be weather dependent, right? So we know this is a real thing. All these murals are outside, right? And we just experienced the heat wave. So there are moments when murals are delayed in installation, right? And
Right.
going up
Right.
because you might have this extreme hot weather. We don't want these artists out there in this extreme hot weather like we had this past weekend, right? Or we might have like a snowstorm, right? In during the winter time, mural production isn't at the highest because it's really, really cold, right? But during like the spring and summer when it's like a beautiful day out, that's when the artists and the artist team, now we have like assistant artists as well who come in and folks, they hire a team of folks who come in and get the mural on the wall. And they do that with like a heavy gel, right? They'll those parachute cloths, the pieces of the parachute cloth,
Right.
the backs of those, they pretty much like paint with a heavy gel so it can stick
Right.
to the wall,
Okay.
and that's when they put it up piece by piece when they use
Hmm.
that parachute cloth method, right? And but for artists who are spray artists, right? Who have been historically maybe graffiti artists now and they just use spray and that's their tool, that's their paintbrush. Those are the murals where we can see in the city that go directly on the wall. So that happens as well, and those installations are a bit quicker than the parachute cloth method. But also like um they don't happen as often because like the longevity of it, they have to get touched up very often because paint starts to fade.
Right.
A lot of part of the work as well through the years for murals to get like restored and look as they once looked. So yeah, it's a process. It's definitely a process.
Wow. That's really cool. That's really cool. Well, now, so how did you become a part of Mural Arts? And what's your background, Darnell?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll tell you about that. It's an ironic story actually. Like growing up, and I'm from West Philadelphia, so growing up, I've always seen murals, right? I never had an idea of like an organization behind them. Like I just always thought like, oh, this is cool. Artists just must be like just doing this, right? I never knew about that process that we just spoke about. So I have a background. I've been working in social media for the past 10 years now. And I was working at the waterfront where all the parks on Penn's Landing. That's where I
Right.
first like professionally was working in social media and content creation. So I worked down there for about 3 years and developed a lot of relationships with folks. And Mural Arts actually finally came in to do a mural in Cherry Street Pier when Cherry Street Pier first opened, if y'all know about that. And that was I think I was about 25 years old.
Okay.
If it's 10 years, I was 25 years old when I first found out there was an actual organization leading the efforts for these murals. So, which is crazy to really think about growing up in Philly, but we can really have a blind eye to like what the development of that and what that looks like in an organization that actually like is doing that. So like I first found out at 25 years old and actually the lady who was the director of marketing and communications at the waterfront used to work at Mural Arts Philadelphia, right? So when I finally left there back in 2020, maybe the beginning of the year 2020, uh, I still had great relationships with folks. I actually winded up after COVID, like after like not after COVID because we were still in COVID, but like when COVID started to ease up a bit, I opened up my own art gallery with a former business partner, and I was working on a lot of design myself at that point.
Mhm.
And one of my mentors randomly, well, she actually knew I was working on design and had this art gallery. She one day she reached out to me and was like, Darnell, like, would you ever be interested in like Mural Arts is looking for somebody like for like design purposes for a couple of the departments like for digital design. So I was like, oh yeah, that like I would love to like be connected. And serendipitous, like that's how I got connected to Mural Arts. I wound up meeting their former director of marketing communications at that time and like just showing my portfolio and and through my conversation with him, I let them know about my former director who used to work at Mural Arts, and then like Jane Golden found out, of course, because like it's a process to getting hired, and like my both of my mentors put a good word in for me, and like it was just like a beautiful like it was just a beautiful coincidence that I got into Mural Arts in that way. So that first year, actually, before I was doing social media for Mural Arts, I was actually a design artist, and I've
Okay.
designed and assisted on murals. I've done billboards throughout the city that first year. I've done like the flags that you've seen downtown every year. Mural Arts has Mural Arts Month, so I've designed flags. I've had my designs on like the Pico building. So that first year at Mural Arts, I was doing a lot of design work. We did this amazing project called In the Exception, to where I did like the main design for it. It was at the national park down on in Old City. So like yeah, I was able to do some design work and be that version of the artist that I am first off at Mural Arts. And then like serendipitous again. I actually was letting folks know throughout the organization. I'm like, hey, listen, like I'm not just a design artist. I also do content too. So like at that moment, they had a social media and marketing manager, and I actually started like doing classes like with the social media marketing managers, like just giving
Okay.
because I had a bit more experience than her in social media at that time. So we had like I had like a 3 month contract with her, like just best practices in social media. And
Mhm.
then she wound up actually like leaving the organization. Like she moved to like California. And I remember like I was the first person that they asked, like, Darnell, like you was doing this class with our social media. Would you want to fill this position full time? And that was 2022. And I said yes.
There you go. Very cool. That's really great.
Yep.
So now you said that there are like 4,000 murals currently.
That is the amount that has been produced over time. Now,
Mm.
currently what's on view is definitely not that number. I don't know exactly that number on view, but of course we know there are thousands on view today.
So what recent mural projects um, are you especially proud of, and what did you what impact did it have on the community?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a couple. I guess I'll start with one of the most recent Jesse Crimes's Riverside mural that just went up maybe a month ago. It's on about I think that's like 12th and Spring Garden. And it's really high in the sky. But Jesse Crimes is he was formerly incarcerated. He started doing art in prison, and he got connected early on with mural arts through our restorative justice program when he came home. And you know, he was just like immensely and still is immensely talented. And so he was with our restorative justice program, the program that I spoke a bit about, who work with formerly and still incarcerated artists in on art projects, right? So he came home and worked with that restorative justice program, but and that was so many years ago. It might have been early 2000s, right? And since then, since he's been home, he's like gone on to like win an Emmy for his documentary detailing like
Oh my gosh.
his life story. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, he just won an Emmy like maybe like a year ago or maybe 2 years at this point. He's been at the Museum of Modern Art. He's been at the biggest museum in New York. He just had exhibits everywhere. I believe he just got a piece acquired uh from uh from MoMA in New York, but I could be wrong about that. But I know he just went on to be this big artist in the world of art, like not just in Philadelphia, but like in the country at this point, right?
uh,
So he came back to Philly. He came back to Philly this year to like work with our current restorative justice participants. We have this the reentry program called the Guild, right? So he came back to work with those individuals to show them that this is possible, right? If you want to really like be an artist and work in art, it can happen because he's living proof. So he had a bunch of workshops where he started to develop and he had this. I'll actually back up a little bit. He has this quote series that he does. He does quotes, so that's like his medium. He does quotes where the quote series right now is called Elegy Quotes. It's actually on view right now at the Fabric Workshop and Museum. You can check it out. Anybody can check it out through I believe it's through the end of August. And
Okay.
and yeah, so like the quotes he develops, he works with folks who are currently incarcerated and like they're pretty much representative of like their story. He tells them to pick a animal that represents them. He tells them to like tell me about yourself and like things that you remember when you were on the outside and like that really truly matter to you. And he works in tandem with those folks to develop these quotes. And they're beautiful. Like please, if you all have a chance and you see this, please check it out. So he worked with, so going back to our guild program, he pretty much worked in the same capacity with those folks, but they didn't develop a quote this time. He developed a large scale mural. So they worked together to like develop what animal should represent. And it wound up being like an owl on this mural, right? And it's just beautiful. And one thing for me that this particular project and this process was beautiful for me because like me personally, like I've also like when I was a child, like when I was a kid, I went through the incarceration system, right? A lot of people, unless you know me, you might not know that about me, but I've gone through
Okay.
that. So like to be able to like go through that as a kid and then have this art truly like save my life. I saw during those workshops how like perspectives were changing. Like even folks who just like I'm not an artist, right? We're all artists in our own right. And you know, like any form of creativity is art. And so I started to see like folks like go through those workshops and really like their perspectives change on like who they are as individuals and what they can contribute and see in this world long term, right? To have a hand in that and to say, I did that, right? I don't like I and you know, that to me, to see those real people understand that like they meant something to the world when the world has oftentimes like shown folks who have been incarcerated that, you know, maybe you no longer matter, right? Folks can feel that way. And so to see that participatory part of it, that mural develop and to hear, to know Jesse's story and to see where he's going to come back to have his first permanent mural go up in tandem with working with folks in that guild program was really, really special. And I remember even being at the mural dedication. So once a mural is actually like installed and ready, we have a dedication just like celebrating that this project is complete. And during that dedication, I remember like Philly DA Larry Krasner, who Mural Arts has worked with in a lot of capacities through projects through the years. He was there and he was like literally crying, like speaking about Jesse Crimes. He was because he you know, he's an advocate for folks, you know, changing their lives after going through, you know, the worst of the worst and maybe not contributing the best to society in the past, but also changing their whole trajectory. So, you know, moments like that, it gives me hope for like the future of our world because you get to really see that people, when given the opportunity, they really will, you know, as long as they have guidance and belief in their self and they can develop that belief in their self, you get to see that folks really aren't like you can't write anyone off. So that was
Mm.
like a really big one for me. Yeah.
That's a great that's great. That's really fantastic. I mean, that's just shows how much the program can do and how it can help
Yeah.
people. That's
Yeah.
really great. Um,
Yeah.
so now how do all right, so how do public arts and storytelling intersect in your view, and how might education tie into that?
Can you say that one more time, Pete?
All right. How do public arts and storytelling intersect in your view, and how might education tie into that?
Oh, that's a great question, Pete. How public art and storytelling intertwine? I would say, okay, so you know, we talked off camera, and like I've told you being in school, right? And one of my favorite classes thus far has been my art history class, and for several reasons, but to answer this question, it definitely ties in beautifully. Uh, the storytelling aspect, right? Because everything we see when it's on, no matter if it's on the canvas, any form of art that we see, there is that story behind why the artist chose the colors, why the artist chose the design, why like what they truly meant to the artist, what they didn't mean to the artist, right? So like to me, when we think about public art and we look at a piece, there's a story behind it, right? There's a story of development process, uh, the color, the color palette chosen, the design, the people who inspired the work. There's so many things you can pull out of like looking at a mural that, you know, to the naked eye, it might just be a beautiful piece of art, right? But there's always a story behind why this even came about. And I
Right.
think right there, that is the educational part, right? That is the education because uh for my art history class, I was prompted to also we have the most sculptures in the country, right? So people don't know that about Philadelphia as well. So in my art history
That's a
class, I
useful
was
tidbit. Yeah.
yeah, we have the most sculptures, public art sculptures of any city in the country. So a prompt I had, and this is the educational part, I'll touch on that. The prompt I had was like to go out and find a public art sculpture and research it, look at it, and start to like just write down the things that it makes you feel and think and write about it first. And then once you write about like the iconography of what you see with the eye, go research it and learn about it, right? And then like so a piece I picked was at it's downtown on like 15th and it's at the actually at the municipal services building. Um
Okay.
and it's right outside of there. And once I started to like do a deep dive into like why this piece, it was about like the people and the government, right? The people versus the government. The people are like actually empower the government, right? You get to learn like this powerful story of like why, you know, this artistic endeavor was done. And it was done
Mhm.
to like really remind the people that they hold the power. Right. And it's like people sometimes you can look like again, you can look at a piece and you might not even truly understand like why it was created. But once you start to learn about it and get the iconography and the education on it, like you do your research, we have the public art archive.org where people can learn the true stories behind these murals and these public sculptures. You really get to understand like it's art has always been used as a tool to advocate, to inspire, to like shake up, shake things up, to like send a message of hope, of peace. And art has always done that. And these public works have that part to them. Every single piece we see has some history behind it, educational piece behind it that, you know, when you do your research, you start to understand why the artists and the community came together to create it.
Hmm. Oh, that's there's so much that goes behind it. I mean, really.
Hmm.
And I I just have and I'm so happy. I'm so glad that I ran into you earlier this week so that we could
Me
sit and
too, man.
talk about this because I drive, like I said, around Philadelphia with my Uber rides, all over the place in Philly, and I see the murals all over the place, and I see the stories that they tell, and I just think that, um, uh, my viewers would really appreciate something like this about Philadelphia, and that's just such a great thing. Um, so
Yeah.
now, um, one thing I ask all of the well, all right, you know what? One other question: where do you see mural arts heading in the next few years? What excites you about the future?
I mean, I think it can be like, so here's the exciting part. I think because Mural Arts has been around now for 40 years, if we count, you know, the time of the Anti-Graffiti Network, the inception of it, uh, we've got to see so many huge projects. We've got to serve so many more artists, right? Empower so many more artists, pay more artists. We got to include so many more communities throughout the city, right? So what excites me for the future is even more of that, right? But the thing is, a lot of people, you see a program like Mural Arts and part public and part nonprofit, right? So, one thing I always remember is like advocacy within when it comes to our city budget and folks really advocating for programs like Mural Arts or like or public libraries or like to the community, they have to be invested in, right? So like what excites me is I do see an era of Philadelphia where folks are starting to understand that we have to invest in arts and culture, right? And there are bumps along the way. Cried out about the arts being underfunded this year. So I do see a future where the arts will be heavily funded because people start to understand that it really saves lives, right? It has saved my life to be in the arts and work in the arts, and I see it save the lives of our guild participants. I see it save the lives of our Color Me Back participants who experience housing insecurity and they're in the same day work and pay program. So I see more of that. I see investment in Mural Arts as a nonprofit. From more people, from greater entities that want to like help people and save lives and change lives, and more communities benefiting from that. And I see more artists, the artists who haven't been able to get a mural in the city, but who are like phenomenal artists. I see more access and opportunities for those folks to come in and be the new generation of artists who continue to beautify our city. So I really see that for Mural Arts Philadelphia. More murals, of course, more public art projects as a whole, greater access to opportunities for everyday Philadelphians to be a part of it. I see that.
Wonderful. Well, now, one last question, which I ask all of my guests, and it's kind of a theme that runs through Electric Pete in all of my different segments and all the things, the people and the guests that I have on,
AP, you bring.
is what are you grateful for?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I am super grateful for life as a whole, right? Just because, again, like I was formerly incarcerated, and to be able to exist as a working artist, like I have the deepest gratitude for. I know everyone isn't afforded that ability to do so, right? There are definitely folks who have been incarcerated who have had a much different story than me, who haven't been able to like go from incarceration to, and of course it took me years to get to this point, so it didn't just happen overnight for me either. But like I know there are folks who are super immensely talented and dedicated who envision a life that isn't just in like getting by, right? And so I'm super grateful that I get to operate in this world to create art for a living and also like be able to open up and give access to opportunities for other folks to do the same. Like I've been able to work and hire so many artists on projects that I work. My response to that was just being grateful to be able to like experience the things I've experienced being formerly incarcerated to, being now the senior social media and marketing manager at Mural Arts Philadelphia for the past 5 years in not only just working in social media, but also being able to like provide access to opportunities for other artists who haven't had a chance to even create a mural, but who are immensely talented. So like to be able to like not only be in this position today, uh, I'm truly grateful because like it just doesn't happen that often, right? There are so many people who have similar stories to me who don't have this similar version of the outcome after, being incarcerated because it's really rough. And I had to work and meet people along the way who helped me. So, I'm grateful to be able to be that to others as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. And that's no matter where you are, who you are, that is a common, kind of struggle in life to get ahead, to be able to, just move in a positive direction. That we can rise above those challenges. And that's one of the main things about my podcast. Early on,
Hmm.
episode number 3, I invented hashtag gratitude with Electric Pete,
I like
where
that.
I recorded gratitude, what people were grateful for, and I put it on an episode of my podcast. And
Mm.
I got that idea from a psychologist that I gave a long ride to from the airport to her home. And we talked, and I talked about about the podcast, and it was new at that point. And she gave me the idea. She said, Pete, hey, Pete. And I always get in trouble when somebody says, hey, Pete. And
Yeah.
you can, she told me about the gratitude practice in her psychology practice. And she said, Pete, you can ask people what they're grateful for, record them, put them in your episode, boom. And you know what? That
Mm.
was episode number 3 of Electric Pete podcast. And I've had 30 people give me gratitude. So that's pretty
That's
cool.
beautiful. Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? It actually inspires me to like even to be even grateful for like those people who connect us to things that we didn't even see for ourselves, right? Like you just talked about like Uber, you didn't even know about it. Like me, I talked about like my journey at Mural Arts. Like I didn't know I could have this or be this, but like people who seen things in us and wanted to just help us connected us to those opportunity. So I'm super grateful for the people I've been able to be around who want to see me win. And and that's and I'm so grateful that that's why I'm like it's definitely within my purpose to connect uh other folks to opportunities, to things that, I see them doing that I have access to. I think it's
Mhm.
all about like continuing that cycle, right?
Right.
For folks to continue to, live in their purpose and their truth. Because like, we're honestly like community is everything. And that's another thing about Mirror Arts. One thing I've learned, like community is key. Because like to be honest, we're nothing without one another. Um, and like I wouldn't be in this space without somebody else who helped me along the way. And I won't continue to be in spaces that I'll be in the future that I might never imagine without having a conversation with somebody who might see something within me who's like, Darnell, you know what? This over here, this might make sense.
Yeah. No, well, that's awesome. So, you know, I see a vision, okay, a vision of Electric Pete and Mural Arts Philadelphia, the train station, the Philadelphia Free Public Library, and then the Museum of Natural History. That's a universe that I am working on creating. Okay.
Mm,
And I'll say this, okay.
yeah.
I eventually, when the Fossils Project, which is a project program that I'm working on, which is an educational program for middle school kids, right, to find fossils. And my wife's a teacher, so she's helping me with um, all of the things that have to be in a program for the schools, right? It has to have this, it has to have that, et cetera. And I don't know. I go by what she helps me with, right? Um,
Hmm.
and if I can get that for, you know, it's my hope, and I'm just going to put this out there, okay? Doesn't mean it's going to
Hmm.
happen, but it's my hope that the Fossils Project will get so big that we paint a mural on a building about
Ooh, okay. See, it's not far-fetched, man. I think yeah, I think it's not far-fetched, because it has all the components. Like you just telling me, bringing it into the schools with the kids, like it has meaning, it has purpose. And we have our education program too. So like that's another thing. Like we're in so many art schools throughout the city. We
it.
go to
Right.
rec centers and through the summer, we hold internships for students. So like there's some connection there, right? It's like and it's all about like it's not just about like that actual it's creativity intertwined within it, but it's also like you just said, like that those educational elements. Like we have a bunch of murals that are like super specific to like uh with biodiversity and technology. Like we have those murals
Right.
already in the city, so I don't. That's not far-fetched. And you know, you even
Okay.
telling me about the fossil thing was like, you know, I can see it. I can see that. I can see that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that would be great. So now, one last thing, and this is just me to you. I would love to come and kind of be at a project and maybe
Okay.
help to paint some murals or something like this. Something for somebody who has trouble drawing stick figures. Okay.
Yeah, no, the paint day, I'll make sure I invite you to one. I gotta look at what's coming up and I'll definitely make sure to get you some dates of paint days. But yo, like the paint days are like anybody can do it, all ages. I've seen little kids out there, I've seen elderly folks out there, like it's literally from 8 to 80 or even younger. Like I've seen painting murals, right? We just like I said, we just had a paint day this past week at Fletcher Art Memorial and literally you have zero experience necessary, right? The artists, we have assistant artists who are there who are helping guide you the entire time. It's really like paint by numbers. So like you just grab the
Right.
color and match it with the number and you fill it in. And you know, so like I'm definitely got to make sure I invite you out to the
Awesome.
next one.
No, that is great. I'm so excited about that. That's really cool. So I love this.
Hmm.
I love to be able to connect with people in Philadelphia. You know,
Right.
that's kind of what my podcast has developed into.
Hmm.
And I'm really excited about making a connection with mural arts. And so I think that's really fantastic. Hey, listen, is there anything else that you would like to kind of add into this?
Just back to my point of like whoever sees this, it could be like an amazing company who sees this, who understands the power of art and like and how it affects and changes people's lives, communities for the better, and invest. That's like always my big thing. It's like you know if we want to see these things continue and continue to expand. We all have to like we got to do our job and invest whatever investment looks like to folks, right? Investment could be coming to a paint day and showing like its power in numbers, right? Investment could be sharing the things that we're doing so folks know these are happening. And invest definitely means dollars as well. Like there are a lot of companies out there who Arts has partnered with in the past already to help produce projects, right? Through their dollars, right? We work with Anthropology, who's a great urban and free people who have invested in our education program. We've worked with Airbnb and Vanguard, who have invested in a new mural that's coming up this summer, that pays homage to soccer in Philadelphia. So, it's like those companies and those people and those entities, like I definitely encourage if they, they see this, like, yeah, reach out, invest, go on murallarts.org. Like we're always open to like funders and partners to continue this work and even go beyond the work we've been doing thus far to continue this work and expand on it.
Excellent.
And also,
One,
and
yes,
also vote in your state and local elections. That's to the people. To the people, continue to vote, use your power because your voice matters and our especially in our local and state governments, like, because we're part city. So, put the people in office who are really advocates of the arts and culture in Philadelphia because, once you put those people in power, they'll make sure the budgets are like in the spaces where they should be, where the arts and schools and free libraries are funded, fully funded.
very good. Very good. That's an excellent point. All right. Well, listen, thank you, Darnell. Thanks for helping me struggle through the technicals.
No
I
problem,
really
man. We
appreciate
got
it,
it.
man. All
We
right.
made it through.
Hey, listen, and
Thanks,
I
Pete.
look forward to coming out to an event. Um,
I got
that
you.
would be great.
I definitely hit you with some dates, man, for sure.
All right, man.
All right, Pete.
Thank you, Darnell. And it's
Have a
so
good one.
great to talk to you. Take care. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into Electric Pete. Remember, every rider has a story, and it's my job to share those stories with you. If you enjoy these conversations and want to help Electric Pete grow, especially to upgrade my video and audio gear, or even for even better episodes, please consider supporting the podcast. Your generosity truly makes a difference. Check in the show notes for how to do that. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share Electric Pete. with your friends and your family. Find me on social media or reach out anytime at electricpeatpod@gmail.com. Until next time, stay charged, stay positive, and keep your eyes on the road ahead. This is Electric Pete signing off.